in Asia, in the Americas, etc., or also in Africa. So the global governance of mayors is just kind of aligned, and I think it's quite important that we are aware of what they are doing. Today we are going to talk more about the budgets, but there are also quite a lot of opportunities for getting some support in addition to what we, Como East, can already provide. So whenever our colleagues from Como East send you some information about GCOM, I would strongly advise that you have a look, and if any questions, whatever, you can contact the country experts of Como East and they will help. But definitely it can be interesting. So that's it from my side. I will stay until the end, even though I'm not the specialist of the budgets and of the reporting, etc. But just in case you would need me, I can try to answer some questions. Thank you very much, and I give you back the floor, Ivan.
Thank you very much, Christoph. Thank you very much for this introduction. And we also have Peter Hems today. Maybe, Peter, you would like to also say a couple of words to the participant?
Yes, hello. My name is Peter Hems. So I'm part of the Global Covenant of Mayors Global Secretariat, so covering all of the regions. And as the badge system is not the easiest system, I think it's important that everybody understands the badge system, see how it fits in within the city journey, and also understands how these badges can be used to promote the efforts that everybody's cities is doing. So I will present that later during this webinar. Thank you, Ivan.
Yes, thank you very much, Peter. So just to proceed with the presentation, maybe I will start with the general information about the Global Covenant of Mayors and how it is connected with the Covenant of Mayors East. So as Christoph already told us, we got a lot of questions from our signatories and from stakeholders in our region about the Global Covenant of Mayors. What is it, and how cities in the Covenant of Mayors East are connected with the Global Covenant of Mayors. And so we decided with the Global Covenant of Mayors Secretariat to conduct this webinar to explain all interested mayors and municipalities and also people dealing with the Covenant of Mayors, what is the Global Covenant of Mayors and how it is connected with the Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy in Eastern Partnership countries. So from on the first slide, you see that maybe a lot of you have already seen this scheme, how Covenant of Mayors was started in our countries, and that Covenant of Mayors was launched in 2008. And you see this progress of the initiative that we started with energy. Then we also got this pillar connected with climate adaptation. And in 2017, we in the world we had two big initiatives for the cities, which were Compact of Mayors and Covenant of Mayors, dealing almost with the same things, assisting cities and association cities which are aiming to be more energy efficient and also climate resilient. These two initiatives were working with the cities all over the world, and sometimes we got also a situation that cities from our region, from Eastern Europe, also were signatories of the Compact of Mayors, and cities from America or from Oceania, they were interested in Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy in Europe. So these two initiatives, they just decided that it doesn't matter where the signatory is, and that they have all the same aims, and they are working together with the cities, and they decided to, so to say, associate and create a big global covenant of mayors for climate and energy. I know that some cities in our region just consider that covenant of mayors it's just a pure European initiative, but you see now we have this slight change in this association or in this initiative, and we have the global initiative, which is unifying compact of mayors and covenant of mayors for climate and energy. So we have one big initiative which covers all the cities in all over the world. If you see what is the global covenant of mayors, it's a global alliance of regional and national covenants. And you see that if we see here on the logos of the regional and national covenants, you see that geographically this initiative covers all regions and all regions of the world. And you see that we have covenants in Canada, in Caribbean, in Eastern Partnership, in Europe, in Korea, Latin America, and so on. So why we have this different kind of covenants and why they are located in regions and in different countries? Because the requirements and the needs of the cities participating in the initiative are quite different, and also assistance that governments and also international organizations providing to the cities is also different. For example, in the Covenant of Mayors Europe region, cities are committed to have 55% of the CO2 emissions reduction till 2050. For our region, for Eastern Europe region, for most of the cities, this kind of target is not achievable. So that's why on the global level, there was a decision to have this kind of different regions in the initiative and to provide a little bit autonomy to the regions to identify their needs and also to identify their special targets for the cities and also provide targeted assistance to the cities to participate in this Covenant of Mayors initiative. At the moment, we have 10 covenant regions, and you see all the almost all over the world we have representation of the secretariats. In our region, it's COM-East Secretariat. It covers all the Eastern Partnership countries, but not covers the Central Asia region. It is with the Global Covenant of Mayors Secretariat is working with the Central Asia countries. And you see that the difference, we have 10 regions and certain national and regional covenants secretariat. Generally, this number of secretariats could be higher than the number of regions represented in the Covenant of Mayors. But what is more important that we have COM-East Secretariat, and all the signatories located in our region are assisted by the Covenant of Mayors East Secretariat, which is cooperating with the Global Covenant of Mayors Secretariat as well. If you see, I use here a little bit statistic from the Global Covenant of Mayors Impact Report. You see what place Covenant of Mayors East has in the global initiative. You see that cities from our region have almost 7% in the general number of participants of the Global Covenant of Mayors, and it covers also 3% of the population of the general population of the cities which participate in Global Covenant of Mayors initiative. You see that the initiative now is quite big. We have almost 13,000 cities participating, with more than 1 billion people living in the cities. And currently, Global Covenant of Mayors is the biggest initiative for the cities dealing with climate mitigation and climate adaptation. Going to the topic, how the work in the Global Covenant of Mayors organized, we have in the center, you see on the scheme, the Global Secretariat and thematic working groups dealing with different topics related to the participation of the cities in this initiative. And on the global level, beside the Global Secretariat, we have 3 main bodies which steer the whole initiative. It's GCOM board, the founders group, and the strategic advisory committee. The GCOM board is a board where mayors from all the regions, which are included from all these 10 regions I presented already, the mayors from all these 10 regions are presented in the board, and they take political and strategic decisions in which direction the initiative should be developed. At the moment, we don't have any representative or direct representative of our region in the board. Our interests are presented by the mayor of Warsaw, but we hope that this year we will get this opportunity to also nominate a representative of our region to the board to participate in decision-making on the global level, and also to determine strategic directions for the Global Covenant of Mayors. I'm talking this because you know that in all our countries we have municipal development and cooperation platforms or covenant clubs, which doing the same work in their countries. And I hope that these MDCPs will also, during this year, will meet and also decide about the representative of our region to be included in the GCOM board. So just for information that these procedures will be also relevant for our region. The Founders Group is a group of organizations which have founded the initiative, the Covenant of Mayors. You know that Covenant of Mayors East Secretariat is acting in frame of the Covenant of Mayors East project supported by the European Union, and there are a consortium of organizations which are implementing this project. And what is important that Energy Cities and Climate Alliance, which are a part of the consortium of the Covenant of Mayors East, they are also the members of the Founders Group. So through these organizations, we can also somehow participate in the decisions made by the Founders Group. And the Strategic Advisory Committee, this is the institution or board or committee which is decided or which is discussing different kind of or prepares decisions made by the board. So all the results of the thematic working groups were different kind of topics connected with innovations, with data collection, with simplification of the common reporting framework, with facilitation of the cities and their participation in different kind of financial and investment instruments. All this information is discussed on the Strategic Advisory Committee, and Strategic Advisory Committee recommends to the GCOM board what would be the solutions which will assist cities to participate more effectively in the Covenant of Mayors initiative. So this is generally the general structure of the Covenant of Mayors. And what are the thematic priorities of the Global Covenant of Mayors, and how the Global Covenant of Mayors Secretariat does its work? So generally, all the activities are divided into 5 thematic priorities. It's Amplify for Cities, Data for Cities, Innovate for Cities, Invest for Cities, and Mobilize for Cities. Why I'm talking about these thematic priorities? Because all these thematic priorities also introduce some assistance instruments to the cities participating in the Global Covenant of Mayors initiative. Amplify for Cities, it's an initiative which provides assistance to the policymakers and to the municipalities to somehow to promote the actions and to work with different kind of stakeholders on the national and international level to promote the climate agenda. Data for Cities develop some kind of recommendations and simplifications of the methodologies. I mean, everything which is connected, for example, with development of the SECAPs, how to make this process easier, how to get necessary data if they are missing on the municipal level. We have this Data for Cities thematic priority, which is dealing also with this kind of topics. Innovate for Cities, this is priority, which is connected with development of different kind of innovations and promotion of technologies aimed at smoothing SECAP implementation by the cities. So everything which is connected with different kind of innovations in climate mitigation and in climate adaptation and energy poverty is coordinated in these thematic priorities. Invest for Cities, this is priority dealing with promotion of different kind of financial schemes and financial instruments for municipalities. And Mobilize for Cities is how to connect different kind of initiatives and different kind of municipalities all over the world so that they can exchange their expertise and exchange their know-how and their experience all over the world. So I will come to the some specific instrument that cities can use going through different kind of these thematic priorities. First, in frame of this Amplify for Cities thematic priority, we have 2 quite interesting initiatives where cities can present themselves and also participate if they're interested. The first one is Global Task Force of Local and Regional Governments, where Global Covenant of Mayors is present. And what is quite important that we have representative of the Global Covenant of Mayors and also United Cities and Local Governments Organization, which is representing our region in the Global Covenant of Mayors to participate in this Global Task Force for Local and Regional Governments. What is interesting that this task force is dealing with sustainable development goals and how they could be localized on the level of municipality. So if your city is active in implementing of sustainable development goals, or you have some some development plans where sustainable development goals are also presented, and you also somehow try to achieve some results on different topics of sustainable development goals. This initiative could be interesting also for you. So please follow these links and have a little bit more information about this. Also, one quite important and quite interesting initiative, which was started after the COP 27, is Sustainable Urban Resilience for the Next Generation. It is an initiative which is guided by UN Habitat, where also Global Covenant of Mayors presented. This initiative is just started, and the work is going on the level of the governments, but on the global level, there is still they discussing still the situation how they could work directly with the cities, and there is a solution which came to the as a possible instrument of implementation of this UN Habitat initiative to work with the Covenant of Mayors signatories, because the topics they are covering are almost the same which are covered by the Sustainable Urban Energy and Climate Action Plans. So you see buildings and housing, urban energy, urban waste and consumption, urban mobility, and urban water. These are the topics which are covered also by SICAPs of our signatories. So I think that this year, this initiative will be further developed, and cities will get also support on the global level. So just have a look on the link in the presentation, and I think that we as a Covenant of Mayors East Secretariat will inform you further about this initiative. But I would stay here a little bit or explain a little bit more about the this thematic priority, such as Invest for Cities, because financing is the most interesting and important topic for our signatories. In frame of this Invest for Cities thematic priority, we have different kind of instruments available for our signatories to participate and to get more access to the financial sources. So first instrument which is available for the signatories is GCOM technical support to the cities with the preparation of the pre-feasibility studies for bankable climate projects. I know that country experts, my colleagues, already disseminated this information among the signatories in their countries. I think that all of you have got this information already and already started preparation of the applications. What kind of instrument is it? This is the initiative which provides technical support to the signatories of the Covenant of Mayors to prepare their pre-feasibility studies for the project. So if you have some actions included in your SICAPs and you need to develop pre-feasibility study for your project, so this particular instrument is quite good for to do this. So just to explain that this is the open call which is organized by the GCOM Secretariat, and cities or group of cities which have more than 100 inhabitants and till 1.2 million inhabitants are eligible to apply for this kind of support. The deadline is 17th of April. So if you interested, you still have this opportunity to apply. The link to this instrument is provided here in presentation, and I think that we will share this this presentation also after this webinar, so you can follow and get a little bit more information about this instrument. Next instrument which is available for our signatories is building activities or building capacities of the cities in development of the express of interest, or this is a kind of form of application for the City Climate Finance Gap Fund. So, as you know, there is one quite interesting and important instrument for the cities, covering different kind of topics and different kind of sectors included in CCAPs, where cities can apply and get support from the City Climate Finance Gap to finance development of the pre-feasibility studies for projects, and to get also support in promotion of these pre-feasibility studies to the international donors and also financial institutions. So this City Climate Finance Gap Fund is a quite interesting instrument, and GCOM Secretariat has an opportunity to support up to 13 signatories in Eastern Partnership and Central Asia region to develop the express of interest for the Climate Finance Gap Fund. I know that there are already cities in Covenant of Mayors East region who has already applied for this support by Climate Finance Gap and already got this support in development of their pre-feasibility studies. It's important to say that the applications could be submitted to the Climate Finance Gap also without assistance of the Global Covenant of Mayors, but for cities which have really problems with development of the project ideas for Climate Finance Gap, and to with transferring of their ideas into this express of interest form, Global Covenant of Mayors could provide this kind of assistance. So it's important to mention that the selection of the candidates for this kind of support will be done in cooperation with the Covenant of Mayors East Secretariat. And if you are interested in participation in this, you can ask or somehow refer and connect to your country expert and discuss this kind of possibility. It is important to mention that this kind of support is available for the cities or the group of municipalities with at least 50,000 people of inhabitants. And generally, Climate Finance Gap Fund is interested in the projects of more than 1 million euros. So if your city or you have also your partner municipalities in your countries are interested in such kind of bundled project, for example, you can ask your country expert a little bit more information about this initiative and how you can apply to be included in this kind of supporting scheme. One more interesting initiative in frame of this Invest for Cities thematic priority is support of signatories with matchmaking with businesses. What does it mean? The idea of this instrument is to connect GCOM signatories, also COM East signatories, with European companies and with European businesses to make common projects dedicated to climate mitigation, adaptation, and energy poverty. So if you have some ideas on different kind of technologies that you would like to apply in your cities, and you know that some European companies are dealing with production of these technologies, or they develop some kind of software, or they have some innovations your city is interested in. You can participate in this instrument, and you can also get in touch with your country expert and provide this information that you have this interest, and also that you have interest in different kind of sectors, for example, or one specific sector of your SICAP, and the country expert will include you into the list of cities interested in this kind of cooperation. What is, from my side, what is interesting in this particular initiative, that cities will get an opportunity to learn also about the technologies which are available on the European market, and they can also somehow maybe they also can get somehow opportunity to use also financial schemes available for the companies in the European Union. That's why we have no, so to say, selection criteria for the cities to participate in this instrument, but it would be nice that cities have at least SICAP developed and have availability of experience, for example, with such instrument like ESCO or public-private partnership projects, and also have a good mayor or vice mayor or quite active head of the department dealing with investments to the city to participate in matchmaking with companies and with businesses from the European Union. So we don't have the very strict deadline, but if you are interested in this instrument, please contact your country expert. It would be nice that you do it till the end of April, so that we can also somehow proceed with the list of cities who are interested in this kind of instrument. Also, we have next thematic priority, which is Innovate for Cities. And in frame of this Innovate for Cities, we have quite interesting instrument, which is called Urban Transition Mission. It's a initiative or joint effort by the Global Covenant of Mayors, European Commission, and joint programming initiative Urban Europe, which is dealing with different kind of projects, programs, and initiative in frame of the Horizon 2020. So a program which is dealing with innovations, technologies promotion, some new approaches in decarbonization, net zero technologies, resilient approaches, and everything which is connection with innovation approaches in urban development in the Covenant of Mayor Cities. So the initiative is dedicated to the development of roadmaps for the cities, how they could catalyze actions and investments in research and innovations in their cities. So generally, the initiative should assist cities to make SICAP implementation more innovative. So make it more connected with introducing and implementation of new technologies. The aim of the initiative is to get 300 cities worldwide and to do this kind of task with 300 cities, and then to promote this experience to to other cities all over the world, just to use this kind of experience and know-how. At the moment, 48 pilot cities have been selected for the first cohort of cities involved in urban transition mission. 3 cities from Ukraine has already been involved in this kind of in this project, and 250 cities will be selected soon as a second cohort of the cities. And the call for the second cohort of the cities is expected to be organized in May 2023. So if you are interested to be a part of the movement of the cities which are dealing with implementation of innovations and new technologies, please follow this link provided in this presentation. And if you have questions, you can also ask your country expert to provide, or me to ask and to get more information about this initiative in Innovate for Cities. Also, not to forget, also one quite important target group of the Covenant of Mayors is youth, and sometimes also youth initiatives, they provide also quite important inputs for SECAP development, and also participate quite actively in SECAP implementation in some actions. But what is important here, quite interesting and important instrument, that there are cities which possess, for example, universities or some educational institutions on their territory, and there are educational institutions which sometimes also making research on mitigation and climate adaptation in frame of their institutions. And this particular initiative is dedicated to the involvement of youth into the decision making on the global and also local level, connected or concerning the implementation of the SECAPs. For example, if you have some educational institutions in your cities which are dealing with preparing or teaching youth in mitigation or in energy efficiency or in nature-based solutions or in climate adaptation, you can somehow try to involve this kind of educational institutions to this youth impact framework, where students cooperate, develop their projects, suggest these projects to the local and national authorities, and also try to get also financing to implement these projects. If you have such kind of student, they can also participate, for example, in the Student Energy Summit in November 2023 in Abu Dhabi, and the application process is still open, so you can follow this information and provide this information to the educational institutions in your city. Also, one interesting instrument which is existing by the Global Covenant of Mayors is Innovate for Cities Conference. So if you consider your city as quite innovative and you want to promote these innovations to the stakeholders in your cities, you can be an active participant of this instrument as well. So I think that the Global Covenant of Mayors is planning to organize the Innovation for Cities conference in 2023 to 2024. The date is not set, but still, if you are interested, you can get more information on the website of this conference, and Covenant of Mayors Secretariat will provide a little bit more information when this conference will take place. So two more interesting instrument for in frame of Mobilize for Cities and Data for Cities thematical priorities. Some of our Covenant of Mayors signatories have already participated in the call for GCOM Expert Exchange Program. I know that around 20 cities from our region have submitted their applications to be participant. The selection is not done yet, but it will be done from the information that we have received from GCOM Secretariat will be done till the end of April. It's quite interesting instrument and quite important instrument for our signatures, because I think this is the first time we get such kind of supporting scheme for the cities, where cities from all over the world can make 10 pairs and organize exchange between them, exchanging experience, know-how, and technologies that they have. So I would say that this is the first time that cities, for example, from our region could travel to America or to Oceania or to Asian city to see their experience, and also accept their colleagues in their cities to show their experience. So we will see which cities from our region will participate, and also provide you information what kind of result this exchange had in our region. Also, one quite important instrument is Data for Cities. I think that Peter will also tell a little bit, maybe a little bit more about this initiative if you have further questions. But all of you and we, as well as country expert and also expert providing you assistance for development of the SecApps, facing the same problems with elaboration of baseline emission inventory, or with evaluating of the risks and vulnerabilities in your city. This Data for City initiative is dealing with simplification of the procedures for development of the SecApps. So there are a lot of different developments in frame of Data for Cities. I think that there are a lot of instruments developed at the moment dealing with getting data, with providing some assistance to the cities in filling in of the SecApps to make it more easily, and to make this data filled automatically based on the big data, based on the data received from the national sources, and even data received from satellite, and so on. I think we will get such kind of instrument till the end of 23. At least I heard that there are a lot of development in this kind of direction. So we will keep you informed about this, and I think that you will see them also in your My Covenant platform cabinet. So from my side, that's it. I think I will stop here sharing my presentation. If you have some questions, I'm ready to answer them. So if there are no any clarification questions, maybe we can follow with presentations, and I will ask Peter to proceed.
Ivan, can you check
Yes.
the chat, because there are some questions in the chat, so you can answer.
Okay. So I have a question. If a community is sick up in the development process and the municipality has not yet completed the development of, so the question, I have a question. If a community sick up is in the development process and the municipality has not yet completed the development of sick up, can the municipality apply for these grants? So generally, as you see, there are a lot of instruments, first of all. So it depends on which kind of instrument you would like to apply. But if we go to the financial instrument or technical assistance instrument, which I have presented, they are open for the cities which have already possessed their SECAP as a developed document. So as they are dealing with support of the actions, you need to have SECAP already developed to identify this kind of actions to be further developed for pre-feasibility study development and further developed into the bankable project. So I here would ask you to somehow to be more active in development of the SECAP, to be able also to participate in these supporting schemes. So, yes, presentation will be sent to the participants. I think we will provide this presentation to the country expert, and they will disseminate it to all the participants. So if we don't have any further questions, I will ask Peter to proceed. Please, Peter.
Thank you, Ivan. So my name is Peter Haams. I'm part of the Global Covenant of Mayors Secretariat. And my responsibility lies in something that Ivan already has included in his presentation, everything that has to do with data for cities. So, and that includes, in fact, the reporting. It also includes the badges and also the way the badges are awarded. So if we look at a typical city journey of a city that joins the Global Covenant of Mayors, the first step is that the city makes a commitment. And you also see that, and I will come back on that, that there is a committed badge that is associated with the commitment. So as soon as the city commits, they will receive, in fact, a recognition as being committed to the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy. What else do you see on this city journey? You see a number of steps that are possible. It has to be said that these steps do not necessarily follow the flow that is represented on this graphic, but each city can have can adapt this flow or this experience to their own situation. But if we look at the different steps that needs to be taken, there is a need to assess the impacts and the risks. There is a need to set targets and goals, to develop climate action and adaptation strategies. There is a need to implement, to monitor and report, and to validate, and based upon that monitoring, report and validation, again to update the climate action and adaptation strategy and start this cycle again. If you look at the validation part, you also see that with the validation part, there are 4 badges that are associated. There is the mitigation badge, there is in light green the adaptation badge, and there is the badge around energy access and energy poverty. Okay. You also see that there is a compliant badge, which is also available to cities that have achieved all of the steps possible. But I will explain all of this in more detail so that you have a good view of how this badge system is working. Looking at the next slide, the first badge that a city can earn is the committed badge. You see here the committed badge. Any city, local government in the world can commit to the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy. We call that GCOM, regardless of size or location. And the first step in a city's journey is submitting a signed commitment letter from an appropriate local official. And when a mayor or a local government officially registers their city's commitment to GCOM, they pledge to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, they pledge to enhance resilience to climate change, and to track their progress transparently. When a city engages in the Global Covenant of Mayors, they demonstrate their leadership, they set an example for cities all over the world to become part of the global solution to climate change. What are we exactly pledging? We are pledging to develop a greenhouse gas emission inventory, an assessment of the climate risks, and to set measurable emission targets, ambitious climate adaptation goals, and sustainable energy access goals in line with the Paris Agreement. So signatories, cities agree to formally adopt plans and targets within 3 years of making a commitment. Okay, so that is the first step. The first step is the commitment. Cities are receiving the commitment badge. That badge is awarded to cities at the time of joining the GCOM via the submission of a signed commitment letter to, in your case, that commitment letter will go to the Covenant of Mayors East, and they will take care of registering the city within the GCOM system. And then the next step will be that you are recognized as a committed city on the Global Covenant of Mayors website, and also on the Covenant East, the Covenant of Mayors East website. What is the next step? Once a city begins implementing a climate action plan, the Global Covenant of Mayor Cities report on their progress every 2 years. Monitoring and reporting will tell the story of a city's climate actions, of their emission inventories, and the current and future climate hazards that a city faces. The Global Covenant of Mayor Cities and local governments regularly report through 2 officially recognized reporting platforms that are aligned with what GCOM calls the CRF or the Common Reporting Framework. You might have seen that abbreviation already on the slide that Ivan presented, but I will come back later to explain what the Common Reporting Framework is. The platform that is mostly used by the Covenant of Mayors East is the My Covenant platforms that cities can use to do the necessary reporting and monitoring. The key city data that is reported through GCOM is then consolidated and made publicly available through the GCOM website and also shared with the UN's Global Climate Action Platform. If we look at the data that we are collecting, the standard and consistent data that we are collecting this way also help assess the collective impact of the Global Alliance and to drive the innovation and investment for local implementation. Note that we also have some instruments and some support programs for that have emerged lately. If we look at the next slide, we will see that slide talks about the Common Reporting Framework. When the two initiatives, the Compact of Mayors and the Covenant of Mayors, were brought together, one of the first things that was developed was a common reporting framework that specified, in fact, how we expect cities to report to the Global Covenant of Mayors, not so much for the reporting itself, but also giving guidance to cities what they should take into account into their reporting, so that could lead to the necessary and the useful actions within the city or local authority. Another advantage of that reporting through a common reporting framework and in a common way, which is a standardized way, is that we can come to a meaningful comparison and aggregation of the data. Okay, I will show an example of the aggregation report later on in this slideshow, but clearly the purpose there was that cities should strive as much as possible to report in a way that enables meaningful comparison and aggregation with their peers, while still ensuring robust monitoring of their progress at the local level. The second very important point is the regional adaptation. We do very well understand that not all regions have equal and not all cities have equal capabilities. Smaller cities probably have less capability from a reporting point of view. So, and some regions will have other priorities than others. That is clearly the reason why the Common Reporting Framework allows certain flexibility. If we look at the mitigation targets that are required, those will be different across the world, and that was also something that Ivan already talked about. The CRF allows flexibility so that it can be applied by cities and local governments in different regions and of all sizes, allowing to accommodate different local circumstances and needs. In the last year, we have also been through an exercise of simplifying the Common Reporting Framework, because we understand that it's quite difficult for some cities and quite difficult in some areas to get all of the necessary data, to collect all of that data. And one of the key problems is when cities are gathering an inventory, an emission inventory, a baseline emission inventory, or a monitoring emission inventory. That exercise often is a very difficult exercise and not easy. So as we understand that the purpose of the cities is not necessarily to report, but to take actions, we are simplifying the common reporting framework. We are simplifying the reporting, and we are also developing, together with the Invest for Cities stream, we are also taking actions to allow cities to gather, for instance, an emission inventory in a more easy way than through the collection of all of the individual data and aggregating that. We could think at schemas where we start from the national numbers and then bring them to the city level. If through that type of exercise we can get to numbers that are good enough, then we can use those numbers instead of the individual collected numbers to move forward. So there we are clearly looking at finding other ways to collect data, also searching, for instance, the help from Google or other initiatives that can collect data through satellite pictures and or to big data means or through other means. If we look at the common reporting framework, the common reporting framework is also used in the validation. As each city implements and reports on its climate commitments, the Global Covenant of Mayors recognizes signatory process by issuing badges shared with the global community on our website. Okay. Once a city has reported on a specific step in the city journey, from commitment to planning to implementation and monitoring, their efforts are validated according to the requirements of the Common Reporting Framework. And if they are eligible, the badges are awarded. Badges are earned through the reporting platforms and awarded via your city's relevant GCOM regional national covenant. So in your case, the Covenant of Mayors East. Note that when you go to the global website, you will see the badges. Also, when you go to the My Covenant platform, you will see the badges that your system has earned within the My Covenant platform. Capturing a signatory's progress across the climate action planning journey, badges are organized around the 3 key pillars of the GCOM reporting. The first pillar is the mitigation pillar. The second pillar is the adaptation pillar. And we have also added now at the end of 2022, we have added the energy access and poverty pillar. The badge system provides, in fact, a high-level overview of the engagement of a city within GCOM and also can be used by the city as a communication and promotion instrument. If we look at the specific badges, so here we see an overview of the different badges that are available. So the first badge is a badge that I already talked about. The first badge is the committed badge. So the committed badge at the left side is the badge that is committed or that is awarded to cities when they are joining the Global Covenant of Mayors. Okay. The commitment for cities in your region is done via the website of the Covenant of Mayors East, where you can join in an electronic way to the Covenant of Mayors East and to the Global Covenant of Mayors. The next step in the middle, there you see the 3 pillars and the badges that can be earned for each of the pillars. So there is a mitigation pillar, there is an adaptation pillar, and there is now an energy access and energy poverty pillar. So those are the 3 pillars in blue, light green, and dark green. If you look at the pillars, each of the pillar consists of 3 phases. If we look at mitigation, there is inventory, there is target, and there is plan. If we look at inventory, there you receive the badge when you have created an emission inventory. If we look at target, that is a badge that you get when you have assigned a target for your city. And then we have the plan badge, which is a badge that you get when you have created your action plan. The same goes for adaptation, where we are looking at a risk and vulnerability assessment. We are looking at an adaptation goal, and we are looking at an adaptation plan. And for the last pillar, we have again assessment, target, and plan. Once you have completed one phase, one step of each of the pillars, so for instance, suppose that you have created a plan for a mitigation plan, an energy and climate plan, then you will receive the plan badge. Okay. There is also no order. So you do not have to do inventory, target, plan. You can start with the plan, then do the inventory, and then do the target, or you can start with the target, plan, inventory. When you have one of the steps of a pillar, you will receive the pillar badge. So if you have the plan badge for adaptation, the step, you will receive the adaptation badge in light green. Okay. In the meantime, the energy access and poverty pillar has been launched at the end of 2022 and is also available for reporting in both global reporting platforms, including the My Government platform. If we look at the compliant badge, the compliant badge is awarded to cities who meet all of the CRF requirements across all active pillars of the GECO. Okay. In practice, today we have 3 pillars that are active. We have mitigation, adaptation, and energy access and poverty. However, the energy access and poverty pillar has been added lately. So that means that we are giving cities 2 to 3 years to implement this new pillar. So even if you have not earned the energy access and poverty pillar, but if you have earned all the mitigation badge and executed all 3 steps, and you have earned the adaptation badge and all 3 steps, then you will be considered for the moment to be compliant. I see that there are a number of questions, but I will answer those at the end of the presentation. So if we look at what is happening, okay. If we look at the award process of the badges, the reporting platform will validate the reported data against the CRF requirements. Within the My Covenant platform that most of the signatories in the Covenant of Mayors East are using, this is done automatically. So once you submit your reporting, the badges will be assigned automatically. For cities that are using the CDP platform, this will be done at the end of the year. Once you have reported, then the eligibility for a badge is communicated through the system, either online or through a specific communication. And then the pillar badge will display as well on in the My Covenant system as in the Global Covenant of Mayors website, where in fact the progress is shared with the global community. Okay. And then there is a yearly event at the beginning of the next year where there is an official badge awarding that is organized. Okay. Looking here at an example of what it looks like on the public website. I have some background noise, so can you please close your microphone?
Yes, just let me, because I see that I cannot.
Ivan, can you confirm? Ah, okay. I see that I'm talking, so I suppose that I can be.
Yes, yes, I hear you.
Okay. Okay. So if we look here at the GCOM badges on the public website, I have taken here an example of a city in Ukraine that already has earned the energy access and poverty badge. They have the mitigation badge. They have completed the 3 steps. They have the adaptation badge. They have completed the 3 steps assessment, goal and plan. Because they have mitigation and adaptation, they also have the compliant badge that they have received. And of course, as they committed to GCOM in 2012, they also have the committed badge that is visible. So this is the way that it is displayed on the Global Covenant of Mayors website. And this is also what cities then can use to showcase their and recognize their effort within the Global Covenant of Mayors system. A way that the Global Covenant of Mayors is using all of the data that is gathered is within the GCOM impact report that we are distributing and creating every year. So this slide is taken from last year's impact report, where we see that more than 12,000 cities have committed. Of those 12,000 cities, 9,700 have achieved the mitigation badge. Mitigation was the first pillar that was launched. Okay. The second pillar that was launched, and that is also one of the reasons that the badges are behind the mitigation, was adaptation, where we now have around more than 2,300 cities that have achieved the adaptation badge. And then we have the energy access and poverty, which is the pillar that has been launched and where we are going to show numbers in the 2023 GCOM impact report. So you see, in general, if we conclude that almost 80% of the GCOM cities have taken concrete steps to reduce emissions, increase resilience, or achieve both. Going to the last slide and then looking at possible questions, and if there are questions in Russian, if somebody can translate those, that would be very convenient.
Yes, Peter, thank you very much for your presentation. Maybe I just intervene and ask you one quite practical question concerning the assignment of the budgets to the Covenant of Mayors signatories in our region, because in our region, cities submit their SICAPs as a one document. I mean, already having the mitigation adaptation pillar included, and the validation and approval of this SICAP is done by GRC, Joint Research Center. And sometimes we have a situation when a city get approval, for example, of mitigation part, and GRC at the same time asks to work a little bit more on adaptation part. So it's not validated by GRC. How the cities will get their badges? At what time, when the whole document will be approved by GRC, or they will get it one by one?
Normally, but I need to check that. Normally, they should receive it before the validation, because in fact, we have two types of validation. We have a first level validation that in fact more or less looks at, does the city have an adaptation plan? In this case, there is a second level validation which looks at the fact, is the adaptation plan sound, will it achieve the goals that have been set, and so on, which is the second level validation. That second level validation at the moment is not linked to the badges. So as soon as that there is an adaptation plan, in principle the adaptation badge should appear. If there are cases where that does not happen, then we have to see why we do not receive that notification at the global level.
So it means when they submit and download their SICAP on My Covenant platform, it means that they have already submitted and they will receive these kind of badges, yeah?
Yes. And they can choose either to have if you look at the 3 pillars, they can have a separate plan for each of the 3 pillars: mitigation plan, adaptation plan, energy access plan. But they could also choose, in fact, to have one integrated plan that covers 2 or 3 of the pillars at the same time.
Okay, it's clear. Thank you very much. Are there any further questions from the participants? There were some questions related to participation in the financial instruments from the first presentation that I have made. If you need a little bit more information about this kind of instruments and the availability of the instruments to you, you can always contact your country expert, or you can contact also me, just to get this information a little bit in more detail. So please do not hesitate to contact your country expert. You will always get assistance from them, and also information about these kind of instruments. So are there any questions or comments, or we can somehow come to close our webinar today? I don't think that we have further questions. So then thank you very much for your presentation, Peter, and also thank you very much for participants to dedicate your time, and thank you very much for your interest in the Global Covenant of Mayors initiative, and also thank you very much for active participation in the Covenant of Mayors East activities. Yeah, I wish you good luck if you would decide to apply for the instrument that have been presented today, and yeah, we'll keep in touch. Thank you very much, and yeah, have a nice day.
Спасибо. Thank you.